Ladies and gentlemen. Okay, for those who don't know me, I'm Kim Solez. So I wrote a poem for tonight, and believe it or not, John responded with a poem, and then I responded back to John's response. So I'm sure that's quite amazing to you. So, celebrating the life of John Daugirdas. Let us celebrate the life of John Daugirdas, whose handbooks have herded us toward modern concepts of dialysis and chronic kidney disease treatment practice. His HDCN is a major clinical nephrology resource which we can all enthusiastically endorse. John is a nephrologic spirit most convivial, whose treadmill desk is also not trivial. An all-around good guy, fun to work with every day. A perfect Belding Scribner Award choice. Let us all in his accomplishments rejoice. So, do you want to read your part?
Thank you. Bravo.
Okay.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to thank everybody that came here. It means a lot to me. Some people I've seen recently, some not so recently, and it's really nice to see everybody again. Especially my old friends from VA Hines who have meant so much to me, and some new friends that I've been working with more recently, and intermediate friends. Now that I've been a nephrologist for so long, that somebody that I've known now for 30 years or 25 years is somebody in the intermediate section. But Nathan, thank you very much, and Glenn for nominating me. And it's been a real honor working with you guys, and I really appreciate everything. Now, Kim. Kim Solez, who many of you may not know, my relationship with Kim started in the mid-90s because Kim was a pioneer in the internet era of setting up internet-based education and communication for nephrologists. He pioneered setting up this email discussion group called NephroL, which then sort of subdivided into a dozen different discussion groups for nephrologists who are interested in all aspects of nephrology care. And his primary group, NephroL, in its heyday had well over 1,000 nephrologists who were interacting every day, discussing important issues and even patients. So Kim has always been a very avant-garde type of person. He's a pathologist, a renal pathologist from Edmonton, Alberta.
It's true.
And he runs the Banff conferences and has been instrumental in establishing criteria for kidney transplant rejection. Is that true?
That's true. Yeah.
So Kim wrote this poem to me, and sort of with a light heart, I thought I'd write him back a poem. So this is the poem. I said, "And let us not forget Kim Solez, who opened the door to web-based knowledge and online sharing and discussion of cases difficult with questions." Doesn't exactly rhyme. He gathered up the wise in transplantation to a mountain in a northern nation. This is a reference to the Banff meetings for you non-Canadians, where they looked and analyzed at data from kidney biopsies from various strata and classified and ranked and tested to know when allografts are rejected. He saw the future and began a mission. To him, we're grateful for his vision. So I want to thank Kim for bringing the video and the lights and the production process. I'm a little bit afraid of this because he runs the ISN Video Legacy Project, where he has talked to all these great people from from nephrology. So if anybody wants to be immortalized on the web as part of the Internet Legacy Project, please come up and say your piece. And
give me your pitch. Yes.
But be careful, because whatever you say is going to be there on the internet forever. I tell that to my children, so I need to follow that same advice. Thank you, Kim.
You're welcome. So I was so impressed that John and I had discovered something new in poetry, which is this call and response. And I thought maybe we could turn this into a movement. Now, those of you who are around in the 60s, maybe none of you really, but you know about a very famous song, Alice's Restaurant Massacre, that deals with this idea of a movement. And if 3 people do it, can you imagine 3 people walking in, singing a bar from Alice's Restaurant and walking out, and they may think it's an organization. And can you imagine 50 people a day? I said 50 people a day walking in, singing a bar of Alice's Restaurant, walking out, friends. They may think it's a movement. And that's what it is, the Alice's Restaurant and Massacre movement. And all of you got to join in and sing in the next time it comes around on the guitar with feeling. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Anyway, you get the idea. So, I think you have witnessed the start of a new movement here, which is this call and response poetry when you're honoring somebody in kidney medicine. And you were a part of history tonight. Of course, as John says, if you want to be more part of history, you can get your Video Legacy video done. But anyway, now what's supposed to happen next is, I understand it, is others of you who wish to speak could come up and say your piece, and I'll give you the microphone because I don't need it any longer. No, you need it because this is
Todd,
your
why don't you
show.
come up and say something?
Yeah. So.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for coming tonight to celebrate John's getting the prestigious Scribner Award. John spent 10 years with us at our Heinz Loyola program, and he has put us on the map. So we are very proud of him. John, I would like to introduce some of my colleagues from Heinz Loyola. Somehow or other, they like to write books on nephrology. Now, for example, John has written 2 books. My friend there, Dr. Rahman, has written 1 book on the history of dialysis. And this guy, David Leahy, has written 2 books. And who else now? I have written 2 books too. Okay. Yeah. Now, somehow or other, if you look at Amazon, all the books are there. And I like to thank John Ball, Dr. John Ball. He's the one who told us to write the handbook of dialysis years ago. Right, John? Thank you. Yeah. And that's all I want to say.
Okay. Good. So is there...
Oh, one more thing. Sorry. Apart from my wife and my family, John is the best thing I've ever had in my life. John, thank you.
Thank you.
Now David Lee wants to say something. David, come on.
So would you like to come up and say some words? Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Okay. If you don't know me, I'm David Leahy. I worked with John at Heinz during the 1980s. When we were both under Todd. And since Todd was talking about books, I need to say something about papers. So we remember lots of things Todd said. One of them was, a paper's a paper's a paper. That was what he used to say when he wanted us to write more papers. So anyway, finally I wrote this paper. It was my first authored basic science paper. John was on the paper, and John was telling me how great this was. And I finally said, John, come on, it's one paper. And he goes, yes, my friend, but before this paper, you had 0 first authored papers. So now you have infinitely more papers than you had before. That's very typical JTD here. The other thing I wanted to say is my good friend Muhammad Rahman, he needs to come up here. Actually, he's going to tell you all himself.
Hi, I did work with John at the VA, Heinz, Loyola. I met John in, can you hear? It's working? I met John in 1985, and it was really an exciting period in my career, meeting with John and Todd and David. John really was a very persuasive person, very energetic. You come in the morning, he has an idea. By noon, the grant is already written, And he really can persuade you with anything. One thing I can't forget, and I don't know how I did this. He persuaded me that I have to run around the Heinz VA in winter wearing my coat and my tie, and I come back from running to draw my blood. And I have no idea what he did with my blood. But but he managed to convince me to do things, so he's very persuasive. And I think he was doing the same with David too.
Yeah, I've got one more little thing there. So John was very persuasive, but one time he said, okay, I got something I need you to do for me. And I said, yeah, John, what is it? He goes, I want you to eat every other day. And I go, what are you talking about? He says, it's my new diet. It's the every other day diet. I said, this is crazy. I said, I'm sorry, I refuse to do this. I'm not going to eat every other day. Well, of course, as usual, John was ahead of his time. So in 2013, the every other day diet, the diet that lets you eat all you want half the time and keep the weight off, was published by Krista Varady. 2013. John had that idea 20 years ago.
He has written a book on it.
Did you write a book too?
Yeah, he has a book.
May I ask, what did you do with my blood? I don't know.
I think the idea was whether exercise increases GFR. I think that's what we were looking at. We were looking at uremic patient. Okay, anybody else? Tom or Nathan? Anybody else want to say anything and be immortalized? Or Glenn?
One more thing. My friend there has a message for you, John. Dr. Susie Liu from George Washington University.
Susie, go ahead.
Is this thing on?
I think it is, yeah. I think it's on. Okay, is it working?
Yeah. Just hold that by your mouth and speak.
Speak louder. Too noisy downstairs.
Okay, hi. Congratulations, John. You've done a terrific service for the nephrology community, for the nephrologists as well as for the patients, with your many books and articles regarding dialysis and the formulas that you've come up to improve the lives of the patients. So congratulations.
Thank you, Susie.
I also have a message here from Peter Blake, who couldn't make it, but he sent an email, so I'll read it for him. So John, congratulations on receiving the Scribner Award. It has been an honor for me to work with you and Todd Eng on the last 2 issues of the Handbook of Dialysis. You truly deserve the Scribner Award. You have taught us all so much about the basic biophysics of dialysis. You are a true clinical scientist and also a true clinician educator. You have contributed so much. I am privileged to know you and to have learned so much from you. Well done, from Peter Blake.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Susan. Well, this is...
John, congratulations for getting... Can you hear me? Okay. John, congratulations for getting the award. I know John when he was a resident and I was a first-year fellow. And I was trying to teach him without knowing how much he knows. So he never said a word to me whether I was right or wrong. So I appreciate that, John. And Dr. Ng, I remember we went on a strike. I hope you were with us because the fellows were moonlighting and Dr. Ng didn't want anybody to moonlight when we were fellows. So he said the residents go moonlight and they don't give good care to the patients. So John wasn't one of them. I didn't want to moonlight. So the fellows who were with us, we did go on strike. But Dr. Ng didn't listen to anybody. So that was it. And afterwards, I had a good experience with John about his knowledge because he always played low key. And there were 5 patients in the dialysis unit who got very hypotensive and had pruritus and typical reaction to the dialyzer. And it was John's idea that this was something in the dialyzer potting compound which caused the reaction. So John, congratulations, and you have been always excellent in diagnosing, but don't forget that you owe me something for doing splenectomies on your dogs. I did do 6 or 7 splenectomies for your hemodynamic studies. So congratulations to you.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Speaking to you here.
Take a song.
Well, John's contributions to nephrology have been remarkable, quite remarkable. Very few of us are household words. Everyone speaks about the Daugirdas 2 equations, right? It's a family name that's famous everywhere. But I want to say specifically that it's very rarely that one's dreams are actually answered. And in my case, my dream was answered because I actually had a dream. It's a true story where I dreamed that I was going to nominate him for the Belding Scribner Award. So when I woke up the next morning after this dream, I don't exactly know what I did, if I spoke to Glenn or I spoke to someone, but it was my intention to do it, and I'm very pleased that I did. Played a small role, Glenn and I were responsible for your nomination, but you have exceeded all expectations in everything you've done that I know of. And I am very, very proud to have known you and enjoyed your company over many, many years. And I want to say something, that there was a time in our evolution of our dialysis where we really didn't know what to do at times. So we'd say, let's ask John. That was a famous statement. We used to abbreviate it to LAJ, let's ask John. So congratulations, John, and I look forward to being with you and working with you in the future as well as I have enjoyed it in the past.
I wanted to point out that this equation that I'm so known for, this Daugirdas equation, was based on data from Nathan's unit. I had actually visited Detroit, and we had a small amount of kinetic data at Heinz, but it was not sufficient to develop a formula looking at all the variabilities. And so I visited Nathan's unit in Henry Ford, and Nathan very generously allowed me to use his data to develop the equation. Back in those days, in the 80s, Nathan would be running this advanced dialysis technical symposium in Chicago. It was in the Midwest usually, sometimes in Detroit, sometimes in the Midwest. And I always looked forward to attending this. We always got new ideas. And through this, one of these symposiums, I met Dr. Daniel Schneiditz, who is a physiologist from Graz. And then Nathan and Dr. Schneiditz and I, working together, were able to develop this regional blood flow model of hemodialysis adequacy. So every time I've tried to do something with Nathan, it's been a great success, and this continues. So this success continues. So for whatever reason, Nathan, I don't know why, but everything I do with you turns out well. Yeah. Thank you so much. Glenn, do you want to say? Oh, Tom, okay. Sure.
Is that okay? I'd just like to offer my congratulations to John, but I have to begin with a disclosure, and that is that I feel that, sorry, my voice doesn't project very well, I'll try to speak up, that I consider John a good friend, so anything I say is probably grossly exaggerated. He may not remember this, but we first met about 30 years ago, I think. And you were standing by a poster at one of these ASN meetings, and you were expounding on the simplified method for measuring KT over V. So I immediately challenged you, saying it wouldn't be better to model this using a formal model. And he could easily have rebutted me by saying, this is a lot simpler and easier to do. It doesn't require software. It can be used in bulk, in retrospect. But he said none of those. He said, yes, I think it might work better if we modeled it. So I really developed a lot of respect for John from that point on. And he wasn't just leading me on, because he later developed a software program that was much better than mine. And to his credit, he put it online for everyone to access. He could have sold it to someone, but instead he made it available so that patients and dialysis people could benefit from it. So congratulations, John, for an award you well deserve.
Yeah, so Tom Deppner has been sort of my modeling buddy, and really has helped me understand the rigors of dialysis modeling and modeling adequacy. And we've actually collaborated on a number of very useful papers together, and Tom helped me put this program on the web that he talks about. He's a co-author on it. So Tom, I'm just very, very pleased in remembering our collaborations that we've had together. Thanks. Okay, Glenn.
So
Not very powerful mics, but
I will be very brief. It was such a pleasure and an honor to write this nomination letter with Nathan. And I have to say that the about 10 years we worked together on FHN were some of the most fun and productive years in my professional career. We all know about the book, we know about the articles, and we know about the equation. Everyone around the world knows about the equation. But what they don't know, and I feel so privileged to have enjoyed, is this boyish, happy enthusiasm that you brought and bring to your work, and the incredible creativity of your thinking. And I'm thinking about some of the things that may not be as broadly known, but just such creative ways of thinking, trying to explain the sex differences in the hemo study, understanding trying to solve the problems with phosphate binders and potency and so forth. Every single problem that you addressed with a level of creativity that was just an order of magnitude higher than other people. And you brought joy to your work, and you shared that joy with us. And I'm really grateful for that. Thank you.
thank you so much, Glenn. Really appreciate it.
You're the best.
Okay, so unless somebody else would like to talk? Sure.
Well, I'm very honored to be able to come here to have the pleasure to congratulate John for the wonderful honor for this Belding Scribner Award, a pioneer in the education of dialysis. But I just want to mention that I get to know John through my dear friend Todd Ing. And this is the famous duet to me. It's summarized by the sage from a Chinese sage say that indigo comes from blue and is better than blue. And I'm sure that Todd will be very proud to have such a wonderful mentee to be able to accomplish this. At the same time, the mentee is always honor and have the mentor has the greatest respect. And this is such a wonderful, wonderful pair that I like all of us to honor two of them. Thank you. In Chinese, it's called 青出於藍勝於藍.
Well, Chinese say that the mentees are always better than their mentors. Otherwise, there's no progress. So I'm very proud of this mentee.
Good. Thank you. Good. So I think that's enough. Unless, I don't know, Peter, do you want to say anything, or are you fine? Just join the club. We're all nothing formal here.
Yeah.
Thank you. Congratulations, John. And I think the first time I was exposed to John was in the form of his book, of course. It was in the early 1990s. And I got it from the chairman of my department back then. And I to be honest, I just reluctantly started reading it. But then suddenly, I remember very well, a patient came with Waldenström's disease, and she had hyperviscosity syndrome. And I said, what the heck, what I'm doing now? We need to do plasmapheresis. How to do this? It was my first case in plasmapheresis. I remember so vividly when I was looking up in your book, John, how to do this, and what a relief. And it worked. She would wake up and, it gave me such a peace of mind. And since then, I feel I have a kind of relationship to you, although it took me another 10 plus years to meet you in person when Nathan introduced me actually to you in the context of the FHN network trial. And since then, I have to say, it was just a wonderful, wonderful relationship. And what I really like a lot when I run into problems or have questions, I just would pick up the phone and call John and say, what do you think about this? Like, remember just a few weeks ago. And on the other hand, John would shoot me an email and say, Peter, you know what? I have a new idea. Maybe can I get data from 2,000 patients? Would this work? And then, well, maybe 500 is fine. Okay, 500 is fine. And so this has evolved in a really wonderful relationship. But I have to say, I'm most grateful that you helped me really to overcome this shyness, to make this happen with the first patient I told you about. And since then, you have a very special place in my mind. So really, thank you and congratulations, John. Thank you. Thank you.
Good. So thanks everyone for coming, and enjoy the rest of the evening, I guess. I don't think we can top that. Thank you, Kim, for setting this up as well.